when you are ratifying a contract that members actually had time to read it and ask questions. Like, that is democracy, not just the fact that we voted to ratify a contract because we wanted to get back to work.
We have now in the Zoom Kristen Edmiston. She is a member of the Evergreen Education Association. She did a workshop at Labor Notes on democracy in contract campaigns. Kristen, welcome to the program. Thanks for taking the time.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you waking up early over there in Washington. It's 9:20 where you're at, so appreciate you waking up and being with us at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. I don't know what time you normally wake up on Saturdays, but I know that...
A little earlier than that.
I know that some people like to sleep in on a Saturday, so I didn't want to assume. So I appreciate it. So democracy in contract campaigns, that's something that sounds good. Why should unions make a concerted effort to incorporate democracy in contract campaigns? Why should we care about that?
Well, I think in general, like not just within a contract campaign, but just within a union, democracy is essential for like a sustainable and functioning union, and to like prevent from working in this service model, to get more people involved. For a union that wants to like make real change for workers and for the world, it takes everybody. So like getting people involved throughout the entire process, including in campaigns. I think like some unions, including ours, sometimes in the past has kind of like laid low until it was bargaining time. And then we have to, especially as an organizer, like kind of reorganize everyone and get them all fired up for a contract campaign, where if we can just like keep that stuff flowing throughout, all of the participation and solidarity throughout, it's like so much more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. I've seen what you're talking about as well. Yeah, it's like you have to build back up that momentum rather than keeping it flowing.
Yeah.
And so have you seen the evidence of democracy in contract campaigns being a boon yourself in your own union's work?
Yeah, we're working on it right now. So throughout our campaign, to talk a little bit about our campaign, we went on strike in the fall for 7 days. And we had also been on strike in 2017. And that strike was a lot easier to rally folks around because there was some tangible like money on the table, and working on raises and stuff like that. And that's much easier because it's more obvious to folks and like they can really feel it. This contract campaign was a little bit harder because we weren't really talking about a lot of money. What we were wanting was support for like our special education educators and students, a lot of supports at the elementary level. And so for like high school staff to get those members in solidarity with everybody, that like when maybe it wasn't so tangible what like high school staff were going to get out of this contract, that like building up to that took a lot of work and organizing and really just like educating folks and creating a sense of solidarity around it. And that, we sustained through the campaign, and we are continuing to sustain it now. And I think that's super important moving forward. We're really trying to emphasize, I think, like for a democratic union, we want it to be member-led, right? But also for it to be member-led in a democratic way, folks need to be like educated and informed. So we're really working on continuing. We built up with education, just as far as like organizing in general, actions, what a structure test is, stuff like that. So building up that knowledge and then continuing that, like pushing on it a little bit more, so all of our members feel empowered to like find issues within their buildings that they can come up with action around, that they're not waiting for like our president to call for some kind of action, like members feeling empowered to do things like that. And I think the solidarity built within our organizing up to the strike, and then the education and conversations continuing out of it have really helped with that. And we're seeing a lot of like actions pop up in buildings, like after the campaign or talks of them. So I think that's been really beneficial to our work.
Great. And so what are some of the, in the workshop, presumably a lot, primarily focused on, kind of nuts and bolts. How do you do this if you're on the bargaining team in your union? What were some of the strategies that you gave folks in the workshop for incorporating democracy into the contract campaign process?
So we talked. So first of all, I am a member organizer. So I wasn't on the bargaining team. I was the bargaining support lead and the strike lead, co-lead with my coworker Sean Gunder, who is amazing to work with. And so we just went through the process of our campaign and talked about, like, first of all, that it wasn't like just when we opened the contract that we started. I mean, really, so, we were speaking at a labor notes panel, and we had started this conversation 2 years prior at labor notes. Actually, we would go to the workshops during the day and then get into someone's hotel room at night and start charting stuff out. And so just talking on the panel about that process building up to it. So like forming CAT teams, the contract action teams, so that we had, and we really wanted it to be not just like a one-way place of information. It was like a two-way information and like conversation and communication going. That was important to us. So we did structure tests with that structure itself, with the CAT structure, by like asking them to get information for us and, fill out a form, just like t-shirt size. Do you have a red shirt? All of that stuff, building up like information that we needed to know, but just testing that structure. And then we had our CAT team perform structure tests for our membership, like wearing red shirts and stuff like that. But again, like, I want to reiterate, like, it was super important to me, I think probably as an educator, but also as an organizer, that folks like understood the purpose of structure tests and of something like wearing a red shirt and the message that sends. If we all participate, or if none of us participate, like, this can be really great for us, but it can also, it can show our power, and it can also show that we are not powerful and not organized. So helping folks to understand that was the purpose of it. It wasn't just like fun red shirt day, So I think that's super important. And again, like, the more folks understand what's going on, the more democratic it can be, because the more they are like fully engaged and have a sense of ownership in their union and understand that like their choice impacts everything. Like the stuff that they do really does make an impact, and it's important to the whole group. So talking about like that organization, a little bit more of specifics of a lot of the training that we did at our rep council meetings was from Secrets of a Successful Organizer, from those workshops we have been to, and from the book itself. And we've been hosting a little book group on the book for our reps. So a lot of education leading up to it. Getting the community involved was essential. And so that was something that we talked about in the panel. That was a lot, like, we got a lot of response and some questions about that. We did leading up to the strike, we started communication with the community and parents that wanted to be engaged, and would just send as many updates as we could. We started rallying at the school board meetings. But then during the strike, I would say one of our strongest organizing moves, and I like if you have a way to do this, this again was essential for us. But one of the days, like we had talked about it as an idea, and then there was just a moment about mid-strike that we were like, okay, it has to happen tomorrow. So we had every building, and again, because we had some structures in place, this was pretty easy to get, but we had every building give us at least 2 names of parents that they knew were supportive. And we compiled that list. We got on the phone with our WEA staff that was sent in that night, and we just made phone calls and we said, can you be at a meeting we had it at a school in a neighboring district. Can you be at this elementary school tomorrow night for a meeting? We got them all there that night. And like, it was huge to the point, it was very exciting, but it to the point where we had to say, like, no more phone calls. This is getting too big. Like, we actually, parents were saying, like, you better have a big space because I'm bringing all my friends. So it's like super excited to have that much support. And then also we were like, oh, this got too big too quick. So we had to stop making phone calls at some point. But we got them there in a room, and we just basically gave a few organizing basics, again, just kind of like educated them. We explained like where we were at in the process, what we wanted in general. We do have closed bargaining, so we didn't even have specifics to share, but we wouldn't have shared those necessarily, because we did want it to be, again, like just like we want things to be member led, we wanted this to be community led. So we just kind of explained, like, here are some basics, here are some basic like areas of organizing, like maybe you do social media stuff, maybe you're interested in school board stuff, whatever it is. We just wanted to provide this space for you to organize if you would like. So here's your opportunity to do that. And like, we had a member at each table just to answer questions if community members had questions about anything about our job, or whatever it was, about anything that we were asking for about the process. And then from there they took off. They had like a huge Facebook group built. By the next day, they had a rally at the district office on Friday that was just like incredible, like banging on the doors, like to the point where they weren't allowed in to the district office, which is also like great for optics for us.
right
And like, actually, that community group has continued even after this, which is like, we're so proud of. Like, we've been meeting with them regularly. They've showed up to every school board meeting. So we've had a lot more participation in our school board meetings. And like, my hot take is that it led to, our local and the community together sort of worked on a vote of no confidence for our leadership. And our superintendent just announced his retirement last week. So my hot take is that like, that organizing led to our superintendent's retiring probably earlier than he plans to. So that was huge for us. And that was a big topic in the panel. I've been talking a lot. Do you all have any questions?
That was great. Like, I love the community backup. And that really reminds me of some of my education organizing as well. Like, some of those parents and grandparents and just community members who cared, right? And maybe they had more time for whatever reason, but like, who could show up at those school board meetings or write those school board members, had relationships with school board members perhaps. So yeah, I think that's really, really cool. And it is such an important piece. And I mean, it's maybe more obvious to folks when it comes to public education organizing, but don't think it's not relevant. Like, whatever industry you're in, right? You are part of the community, and you are attached to the community. And your livelihood definitely impacts everyone else's livelihood. So I just wanted to echo that. I think that's really cool.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate. What were some of the questions that folks were asking in the workshop? Were there any that stuck out to you as interesting questions or as good jumping off points for some practical advice?
Yeah. So one of the things that I as an organizer, heard from members on picket lines and stuff, was they didn't have the vocabulary for it, but I really feel like there's a need for open bargaining in our union this next time around, because folks were just like so just feeling out of the loop, and there's a point where it's like, well, what are we walking for, which is natural, and right. Closed bargaining is what we had agreed to, so no problem there, but I do think we need to shift to that, especially to be more democratic, right? So there's two-way communication, it's member led. Right now, like we elect our leaders and we have surveys, but I think there's more to democracy than that. And that folks have a voice all the way through, not just like the first little part and then it's, and then a group of 6 people take it away, not to remove it, but like, we'll take it from here kind of thing, right. For 1,600 people. Like, it's just not possible for 6 people to represent everyone. So I talked about that when we were asked like what our challenges were. I think that that's a big challenge at this point and something I want to push for. And that was really, again, a hot topic of conversation we had a lot of time that was just like questions from the audience. And a lot of people are more interested in shifting to an open bargain like we're trying to do. And so a lot of questions just about like I would like to do that too. How are you doing that? How are you trying to shift there? And the answer is like, we're trying to figure it out too, especially if like our current leadership and our current staff that's with us from WEA, like that's what they know and that's what they're trained in and that's what they've always done. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like to shift to something new, take some learning, take some people to be like, willing to be out of their comfort zone and stuff like that. So that's where we're at, is trying to like get to that space where people feel comfortable taking that leap and educating members on what it even is. Like sometimes people hear open bargaining and like it absolutely can be everyone in a gym and listening, watching the whole thing, but that's not like the only thing. It doesn't have to be that open. Open can just be like bringing in groups of people to have a little bit more of a voice when it comes to language that impacts them. Right. So that was, my answer is like, right now we're working on building some interest groups and some caucuses that we could, maybe lean on when it comes to like, hey, counselors, this language is about you and none of the 6 of us can answer this on our own. So what do you think about this? Like they're offering this or this, what would you choose or whatever it is? Like, I think that's how we're doing it. There was a question about like someone was going into bargaining right then and they were wondering like, how can we make this open? And I was like, it might be like a little too quick to try a completely new model if you're like going into it next month or whatever. But also like just communicating with some interest groups, like that is a way to start that's, pretty harmless and not gonna cause a big ruckus and definitely be more democratic. So.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of open bargaining. I think it's really good, and I think one of the benefits is it kind of eliminates the rumor mill. Like, oh, I heard this about bargaining. I heard that they did this. I heard that they gave up this. And instead of being like not sure what's going on, like you can just go and you can just see for yourself like what's happening in bargaining and what management is saying about you. I think it's a really good. I think it's really good. And you were talking about how, yes, you vote for your representatives and all of this, and that's great, but that's not all there is to democracy. And I think that's a really big problem that we have in American society, is that we have been, beaten into us like anytime, to the extent that we even have civics classes anymore, right? To the extent that we have a civic education, all democracy is once every 4 years you go and you fill in a bubble next to a name, and that's democracy, and there you go. And we really need, particularly in unions, but in society at large, we need a shift in how we view democracy to viewing democracy as power and participation, right? And I think that doing, injecting democracy into contract campaigns is a really good way to do that for union members, and can really be kind of a school for democracy for our members to engage more broadly in society. So I think it's really great all around.
Yeah, and I feel like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like, I feel strongly that unions are really like, if we all can work together and organize, like we are what's going to push the greater society into some of this stuff, because right. We're working together, like we are a huge group, right? So we've got a lot of power and solidarity there, and like we can also do that for our states and our country and the world. So yep. Exciting.
Yep. Was there anything else that you wanted to make sure that you touched on about democracy and contract campaigns before we let you go?
I think I would just, for anyone that's like wondering how to make sure that their union is being democratic, I want to emphasize again, probably because I'm an educator, but like just the education piece of it, and folks understanding when they're making decisions, they understand the decision that they're making. So like that they are educated and informed. And when there's a motion on the floor, that folks understand how that motion works and what exactly they're voting for. Like that's truly democratic, not just that there was a vote taken, or when you are ratifying a contract that members actually had time to read it and ask questions. Like that is democracy, not just the fact that we voted to ratify a contract because we wanted to get back to work because we were tired of striking or whatever it is. So like really that the making sure people are educated and informed means democracy to me.
Right. Do you have any reflections on labor notes? Was this your first time going?
This was my second time going, and I just love it. I love the connections. If anyone is like considering going, please go, because I learned so much from the workshops and stuff, but also just from talking to other people in other unions. Like I would say that the first labor notes that I went to, I listened to a panel of one of the strippers unions that was organizing. They were currently on strike, and we were just hearing about some of their creative actions. And I mean, that definitely, like, I used a lot of those ideas in our organizing for our strike too. Like, of course, they had to happen a little bit differently, but I mean, I'm inspired by listening to other unions because they are thinking of things that we're not thinking of. So having that opportunity is like priceless. And then it's also just cool, like, I mean, walking through the hotel lobby and just hearing conversations about organizing and problem solving and solidarity. It's just like an energy like no other. So it's such a cool place to be.
Absolutely. Evergreen Education Association, is there like a county in Washington called Evergreen, or are you at the college Evergreen?
So we are in Vancouver, Washington. There's 2 school districts. So there's Evergreen School District and Vancouver School District. So we're K through 12 districts. Yeah, there's two of them there.
All right. Kristen Edmiston, member of the Evergreen Education Association. Appreciate your time. Thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.